What's up, everybody? Is this thing on? Are you ready for the night shift? Yeah, I switched it up today. I'm not always going to do it like this, but of course the Sharks are not always going to play an 11 a.m. game from Europe. I normally do night shift right after the post-game show ends, but I wanted to enjoy a little bit more of the Saturday. And so here I am at nighttime. A true night shift. The first actual night shift. Yesterday I did it at 2:30 in the afternoon. So, are you ready? I mean, the music is getting me ready. But I'm totally ready. Let's find a good spot here. And then push a few buttons. And then this happens.
Broadcasting live and worldwide. Here's Brody Brazil.
Oh, wait a second. Wait. Ah, there we go. I get used to the remote setup, and now when I'm in the home setup, it feels not as much as home. I'm not, whatever, you know what I'm saying. Here I am with Sharks Night Shift. Like I said before, the actual night version of this. I'm not exactly sure if the team is on their way home right now or if they were going to get a full night's sleep in Prague and then fly back like more of normal hours. When we came back from Sweden in 2010, we left the rink, went straight to the airport, flew all night, and then got into it. We had to land at Oakland because of the San Jose curfew restrictions. And so I was up all day in Sweden, all night for the game. I didn't sleep the entire flight home. I'll never forget our producer, Sean, literally, whoa, I didn't ask for that.
Broadcasting live and worldwide.
What was that all about? Our producer, Sean, he drugged me like through the Oakland airport, the charter portion, and got both of us a taxi home back to San Francisco. It was I was a mess when we got home from Sweden 12 years ago. But you know what? It's one of those deals where 5 or 6 days, as it will be until the next Sharks game, the players will be fully recovered. They'll be ready to go. But no doubt, I mean, you can't discount that going all the way over there was a bit of an adjustment when they played that preseason game on, wobbly legs. They're probably fine for yesterday and today, but now it's definitely going to take them a few days to adjust back to California time. But I know you're not here for body clock mechanics and things like that. You want to talk about the game at hand, how the team looks, and you know what? I think this time around, we are all extra interested in what this team looks like out of the gate. Every last detail, every new player, every coach's comment, even the way the jerseys look for the first time. Like we're all so not on edge, but we're very much dialed in to really focusing in because there's not as many things you can like rely on anymore, right? There's not as many familiar faces and names and styles, and everything should look a little bit different, right? You don't want as much of the same. However, I do have to say that some of the themes we've seen so far are very similar as to the Sharks of last season. And there's a few of those things that are really good. How goaltending has been. How the penalty kill has been. There's some of those things that are a bit more frustrating. How many goals you get. Who gets the goals? Some quiet periods of games, like usually in third periods, and I say that, but respectfully, I thought today the Sharks had one of their best periods out there. They didn't score, but they outshot the Preds 15-3. Had every last chance of tying it late, just couldn't do it. And so a 3-2 loss today and a 4-1 loss yesterday in the opener. By the way, I will get to a bunch of questions and comments. I've been doing such a bad job of that. I get far behind and then I try and catch up and there's no way possible. So I'll give you kind of a heads up on the comments in a few minutes, and then we can kind of rip through those, and you feed them in, I'll get them back, and let's see how we can do this. Also, I've put it up here, but that is the official voicemail line, and at any time, you can call right in And what I'm going to do this year, I think to start, instead of taking calls, I'd rather have you leave a voicemail at that number. I never answer this number. And then what I'll do is I'll play back your messages as we go. That way it keeps the messages a little bit shorter. I can play them out. You can have your say, get it right, and then I'll respond to it. So I'll try it out that way. Maybe eventually we'll get to doing the live calls. How do we start this? If the Sharks won both games, we'd be sitting here saying, well, they've turned it around already. And see, they weren't that far off. And it didn't take much of a twist to get this group back on track. And you may recall how last season started. Do you remember? What was the first game like? That was a W. How about the first 2 games? Both wins. How about the first 3 games? How about the first 4 games? 4-0. The San Jose Sharks went to start their last season. Now, we know how the season ended. In fact, at one point, they had a 7-game skid. At another point, they had a 10-game losing streak. 5th in the Pacific Division. Yeah, let's really remember here that it was a rough last season. But it started 4-0. And so that's why this year, starting 0-2, I'm going to hold my horses. Because for this team this season, it is about where they start a little bit, but it's more so how they finish and what direction they're headed, how they're trending, playoffs or not, how they look in the 60-game region, in the 70-game region, and closing it out after 82 games. How do they look? Did they improve? Did they get better? Did they make moves that they needed to? Did they get the right players called up? Did the right players develop over the course of this season? I know everybody wants them to be good out of the gate. I'm just not sure if they made enough wholesale changes as for the actual team yet for you to realistically say, oh, they should get a totally different result. Because as of right now, with the exception of Luke Kunin, Timo Meier almost scored in game 1, right? Hit a post. Hurdle's already scored. Couture scored today. Those are the only 3 guys that were consistently finding the back of the net last year. And Kunin's been great in the preseason this year. Great addition. But here we go again with not a lot of goals and the same players, those same 3, and Kunin included, scoring them. So we'll get into some of the themes that may be repeating themselves, but my point is that the Sharks have made changes elsewhere to start remedying the situation. The front office, the general manager, people in the hockey operations side of it, brand new coaching staff. The jerseys, they're like a coat of paint, right? Like they are there to help you also realize that it's a new era of Sharks hockey. In fact, I was driving home today across the Bay Bridge, and I saw a billboard. It said something like, welcome to a new era of Sharks hockey. And I was like, yeah, it really is that. And for a long time, I think they were considering, well, small changes here and there. We'll tweak it. We'll eventually get back. And I think what's now realized is we're in for, I don't want to say drastic, but a significant change of scenery. And that's going to take some time. So I don't want to lead anybody the wrong direction and say, well, I think they fixed it already. Think of a big, difficult, complex project, anything in your life. I don't even know what's a good example of this, but how many times do you just go, ding, 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 oh, fixed it? It rarely works that way. You kind of take it back to the lab, you work on it, test it out. Well, all right, let's tweak. All right, try that. And eventually, you keep working on it, you'll get it. I did a soldering project recently. I know. I'll probably do a video on that here on the channel at some other point. I'm practicing my soldering. But the point is, if I rushed it, I would probably mis-solder something or burn myself or burn the circuit board or melt something. You got to take your time. You got to be deliberate about this. You also have to understand that even if I went as fast as I could, it was a 45-minute project. Couldn't do it in 10 minutes. And so for the Sharks here, let's realize this is a multi-month, if not multiple year project to get them back to the point of your expectations and my hopes. that they are a competitive playoff team year after year. That being said, what did we see in these two games? We saw good goaltending by James Reimer. I thought in game one, he was the most valuable player. In game two, I think we saw some elements of, how should I say this? We saw some statements maybe. Luke Kunin's goal got his own rebound. He was on the power play. Good to see the Sharks get a power play goal today. Good to see him draw a couple penalties early in the game. They actually did that over these two games in Nashville, in Prague against Nashville. Felt like the Sharks were good at getting the Preds to bite on a penalty. And you know, when you're doing that, you're playing the right way. Got their first power play goal of the season on their second man advantage opportunity. That was 14-26. Again, Kunin on his own rebound. Lindblom and Mario Ferraro had 2 apples today, helped on both the goals. But then Nino Niederreiter, oh my gosh. Did he beat the Sharks alone this weekend? Nashville had a total of 6 goals scored on a manned net. They had 7 goals between the two games. One was an empty netter. Brownie called it fuzzy math that I was using earlier today. It was not fuzzy math. It's reality. The Preds scored 6 goals on a manned net by the Sharks. But Nino Niederreiter had 3 of the 6. He had half the Nashville goals in these two games. So going back, was he just that hot? He took over the 2 games and he won it for the Preds? Or were the Preds that good? I think it's a little bit of both. But I don't think you should discount one player's contributions because he was all over the place. And actually, it was kind of a trip because, was that where the goal that Niederreiter scored? Was that today where he was in the box, jumped out of the box, and then scored? Anyway, I want to go back to this though. The Preds scored 4:35 into the second period. They tied it at 1. You're thinking, all right, you know what? The Sharks needed to get more than 1 anyway. But the cool thing was San Jose's response. Steven Lorentz found Logan Couture, and I keep saying Lorentz, Steven Lawrence found Logan Couture at 4:46. So about 10 seconds later, the Sharks instantly respond to Nashville's first goal. Again, Mario Ferraro getting a secondary assist there. I love that response. So the two things, scoring first, having a lead, and then getting it right back, like the Sharks did. Now, unfortunately, those were the only statements the Sharks made today. What I was hoping for was, hey, in a 3-2 game after 40 minutes, like it was at second intermission, this is your chance. This is your opportunity to tie it up late or to tie it in the third, make it anybody's game, at the very least, get a point out of it, take it to overtime or the shootout, whatever you need to do, maybe even win it, but at least force the issue in the third period. Now, the Sharks did that in gameplay. They just didn't do it on the scoreboard. I know, results are all that mattered, but I do like to see that fight. So again, the early goal, the response goal, the push late. There were enough statement elements of this game to make you think, okay, all right, and especially in a back-to-back, and especially, all things considered, how weird it was, where they are. They're not home by any means. There's no familiarities. It was technically a home game, but nothing home about it. So all things understood and evaluated, the fact that they showed those signs of life in game 2, even lost by 1, okay, there are some things there. If they lost again 4-1 today like they did yesterday and kind of just dissolved after the first 25 minutes, I'd say, uh-oh, it didn't show you anything all weekend. But I thought today there was something to be seen. Let's go back to scoring for just a second. Randy Hahn had a stat on the broadcast, which I was aware of, but I needed to be refreshed on. And in yesterday's game, the 4-1 final score, it was a repeat of last year so many times. Do you know that in 82 games, so of the 82 last season, 23 times the Sharks got 1 goal or no goals? One or fewer. I mean, you all know 2 or fewer is a trademark statement on pre and post game live with Brody and Brownie. But 1 or fewer, right? That's a whole different territory. That rarely ever gives you a chance to win. Hardly ever. The Sharks did that in more than a quarter of their games last year. 23 of 82 times. 1 goal or fewer. And they've already got one of those games this year. They need to desperately stay away from that. Desperately change that. And their penalty kill has been so good. I mean, of all the things, right? Last season. Again, let's go back to last season. It's a different team this year, but let's go back to this. How many categories were the Sharks last year second in the league? What were they really good at? Well, I'll tell you one thing. It was the penalty kill. Second in the league, 85%. So far in Nashville, why do I keep saying that? In Prague against Nashville, they killed all their penalties. Granted, I don't think in yesterday's game, like they took 3 of them in a row in the third period. You don't want to be doing that when you're trying to play catch up. But they were able to kill every single penalty. So that trend continues, and that trend is fantastic. But at the same point, whether it's your power play, whether it's at even strength, like killing penalties like that and getting pretty good goaltending like the Sharks have typically got, those 2 things will keep you in games. But scoring is what wins you those games. And you've got to get it from a third line, a fourth line sometimes. You got to get it from your blue line. If the top 3 leading goal scorers on this team by the end of the year are Logan, Timo, and Tomash, I'm not gonna predict great things for the team's outcome. And that's fine if those 3 do end up 1, 2, and 3 in some fashion, but there better be a close 4 and 5 and 6. Think about that for a second. There better be a couple other players pushing them. Luke Cunnin, I really like, speaking of that, let's talk about somebody who could step into that role immediately. Scored on the power play. There's a reason he's out there on the power play. Got an assist in his first game with the Sharks. Had a pair of goals, actually, against the Ice Baron, the Polar Bears from Berlin. So let's hope the hand stays hot for the brand new Shark. And how cool for him, right? It was twofold, these first 2 games. Facing your old team and also making a good impression with your new team. There were a lot of reasons why he wanted to have a good 2 games in a row. And he did. He really did. Can I also take this second to do a quick rant? I actually miss something from the 2021 shortened season. I do. Right? It was a weird year. I mean, no fans in the stands and travel restrictions and I don't even want to get into remembering all of that. But there was one unique thing about the schedule beyond the fact that it was a condensed season and it was only interdivisional play. Do you remember that there were a lot of back-to-backs on the schedule? Like you would play the Minnesota Wild twice in a row. They'd come out to San Jose, play 2, and then fly out. And then the Sharks would go to Anaheim, play 2 in a row, and then fly up to Las Vegas, play 2 in a row, and then they'd come home, and the Kings would come up, and then they would play 2 in a row. I love the baseball-style series for hockey. I wish it would come back in some way, shape, or form. Now, I also like the fact that the Sharks play every other team in the league, so I realize this is complicated, right? Like, you're not going to be able to play the Devils back-to-back twice at home because it just doesn't work out that way. You need to play 1 at home, 1 on the road. So we're not going to entirely do this, but how about all of the divisional teams? Can the Sharks play, and every other NHL team play their divisional opponents in sets of 2? Because like we saw today, the second game always involves a little bit more emotion, some fires, some carryover, some strategy changes, right? Like you really got a good read on your opponent. More than just the pre-scout, more than just the videotape. You actually got to play them in person, feel them out in person, understand them in person. And so what do you do for game 2? Do you bring the same game plan? Do you try a different strategy? Do you mix things up? If you beat them, do you try and win the same way again? I love the back-to-back sequences. I'll call them the baseball series, right? Because in baseball, Teams play each other either 2 games in a row. That's semi-rare. It's usually 3-game series. But a lot of times it's a 4-game series too. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We have them all the time. 4 is too much, 3 is too much, but I think 2 is doable in the NHL. And I'm not even asking for back-to-back nights. Like, you could play Team X on a Thursday and then have Friday off and then play them again on a Saturday at the same rink, right? Home team stays the home team. This would cut down on travel. This would offer the opportunity of more off days in the same city because it's hard, right? Hockey's hard. You travel in, you get ready for the game, and then as soon as the game is over, on the jet, you're out of here. And it happens in a flash that you're all done with that city. It offers you a practice day in between that teams don't normally get. For a lot of reasons, for the fans, for the players, for the teams themselves, just to make things more interesting. It's amazing. It makes their travel more efficient, which I think we can all appreciate. But it also makes it more interesting and more appealing to everybody. And that's what this trip to not Berlin. I mean, it was partly for Berlin, but this trip to Prague for the Sharks against the Preds, that's what this was. Neutral city for both teams, right? But that type of series, I truly felt today's game had something additional that the first one didn't or couldn't, and it only had it because of the back-to-back games. Look at right off the opening draw. Ryan Johansson and Hurdle got into it. Hurdle high stuck him. Like, there was something right off the opening draw that was a carryover. So I'm not saying I need to see a fight in every second game, but I want to see them be more interesting. All right. What else do we got here? It's probably time to get into the live chat. Why don't we do that? Oh, I see some Eklund and some Bordelot comments, so we're definitely going to go that direction. All right, Caker Girl, it is good to see you back. I know you missed yesterday. It was a weird time, but I'm glad we could accommodate for you tonight. Marty says, Bedard going to look so good in teal. Everybody's already talking about that. You know how the lottery works, right? You know how that goes. Actually, I take it back. I don't even want to go that direction. I really don't. Slow adjustments needed. Yeah, I think that's accurate, right? It's a matter of understanding that this is a work in progress. Caker Girl, feel like we have a pretty good team setup. Not the best, but we have a good foundation. I would definitely agree. Michael says a lot of new faces. Totally agree there. I'm still getting used to numbers and names, right? Like that's one of the things for me is we a lot of times on the broadcast side internally, we're talking about 11 or we're talking about 39 or we're talking about, whoever, 22 back in the day. So we don't reuse a lot of names, but if you don't know the names and numbers, then that can be kind of a problem. Michael says, very strange. Well, you'll get used to it. Casey, what's good, buddy? Glad to have you here. A mixed bag, some good and some bad. Yeah, I think, Kevin, you put it simply and you put it quite accurately. There was some good out of these 2 games. Some unfortunate, right, that you want to at least come back with a split. And I think that would have been where was the bar for me in these first 2 games? Winning both, I would have been beside myself. Elated, but also I would have tried to stay grounded. I probably, if the Sharks won both games, I would have been here telling you, slow down. We just did this last year, all right? So I'm going to tell you instead of winning both games, since they lost them both, I'm going to tell you this. Slow down. Long season. This doesn't mean anything, bad or good, or any different. I also want to tell you this. The time off and the time change for the Sharks as they go back in reverse 9 hours and try and catch up on their sleep. They'll have a couple practices. All of what they're about to do Friday and Saturday against Carolina and Chicago, it's going to feel like the season started all over again. I know this. I've done this before. I've been with them on this trip before. And I'm trying to think who was on that team from back then. Vlasic was. And Logan was. I think that's it. Tomas Hertl had not joined the Sharks yet. So Vlasic and Logan Pretty sure they're the only two. Yeah. They've gone through this before, playing in Europe and then flying back. And what I'm trying to spell out here is that it will feel like butterflies all over again, getting a game day routine at the tank for a lot of the new players all over again. It's opening night at the tank is going to feel like opening night of their season, even though they've already played 2 games, even though Nino Niederreiter has already scored 3 goals in this league. Some players haven't even laced up the skates in a real game yet. Most of them haven't, right? A high majority of them haven't. But it's going to feel like opening night, a true opening night all over again. So in a good way, you kind of do get the reset button. You got a weird, atypical start, but now you do get the reset button. What's up, Night Shift? Hey, Marty McFly. Tell Doc Brown I said hello. Not Curtis Brown, but the actual Doc Brown. Oh, thank you for the intro music, love. Are we going to have Drew Remenda doing games this year? Michael, what do you want me to say? You want me to say yes? Because that's the answer. Drew is not on the trip, but Drew will 100% be around this season. I hope that makes you happy. Makes me happy. Caker Girl, back again. Oh, I think she was just you were trying to catch my attention earlier on. Kammer wants to see Cunnin and LeBanc, with LeBanc and Couture. And you need your guy Barabanov back. Yeah, he's got the injury. Barabanov is a player that I've liked. I hope he can break out. I hope Noah Gregor can break out. Realize he didn't get the chances in both games. And I do want to get to the Eklund and Bordeleau conversation, which I've seen the comments down below here, so I'll eventually get to them. You like the New Jerseys, and even though the Sharks didn't win today, thought they played better today than yesterday. Yeah, and by the way, the history question or the trivia question on history is this. Who scored the first Sharks goal ever wearing a teal helmet? Luke Cunnin did. 1426. His second game as a Shark. First season as a Shark. They've never worn the teal buckets in a real game until today. And let me just tell you this about the jerseys. I know people generally like the road jerseys, the white, the teal breezers, and the white helmets. But let me tell you about the all teal ones. It is different. I get it. You've never seen. That's why they've evolved. That's the name of the jerseys, evolve. When you see these in person, that's when you're going to understand. If you haven't seen them in person yet, and I'm assuming most of you haven't, if you didn't go to a preseason game or you didn't see them at the Barracuda debut, at TechCU Arena, if you've not seen the full thing, and I'm not talking about you've seen the sweater hanging up on a rack somewhere. When you see the full thing, mitts, socks, skates on, helmet on, all that stuff, then that's when I will say, tell me your real opinion right now. And I think you'll be pretty favorable. It's one of those things where I'm not sure the renderings did them justice. Wait until you see them in person. And what's pretty cool is that I asked all the players about them, I don't know, about 2 weeks ago, and they all said the same thing. They said, we saw early mock-ups and we got to give input on the early mock-ups. And, we kind of liked them, the direction they were going. But when we saw them, when we actually held them, touched them, put them on, that's when it kind of clicked. So just keep that in mind. Frustrating once again. Scoring will be a problem, says Christopher. Yeah, I mean, as of right now, that I guess we're going to wait for the breakout game where they score 4 or more. But you don't want to be on the wrong side of 2 or fewer too many times. You really don't. Give the kids a shot. The bottom 6, you say, is terrible. Well, time will prevail, but I think that the idea and the goal in mind this season is to make the roster more seasoned, more difficult to crack, to provide competition. And look at Eklund and Bordeleau, went all the way out there with the team, didn't play in the preseason game, didn't play in either of the regular season games. It was an expanded roster, so maybe their trip out there was to keep them with the team, to reward them. Maybe there was an idea all along that they wouldn't play. But it'll be interesting to see when they do, because they will at some point. And I said this on TV, you kind of know, the journey. I take it back. I think how I want to say it is this. The destination for Eklund and Bordeleau. And Ryan Merkley, for that matter, too. I really think you understand where they will be in the year 2024. Developed, regular, every gamer, key part of the team, however you see it. But you generally have that idea. It's just a matter of how do they get from here and now till then? How many twists and turns does it take? When do they get called up? When do they stick? When do they like get it and latch, you know? And is it partly up to them? I guess, but it's partly just things playing out, how they do. Some players, it takes one call up and that's it. And that's it. They'll stick. Other players, like remember Tomas Hertl. Now he's a guy that's always just been there. But remember when he was never a centerman? Like he was a winger and they tried him at center and then that didn't work. And is he a top six guy? Is he a third line guy? You know what I'm saying? It takes some time. Trying to think of another player who kind of had the whole ups and downs or there wasn't, you knew what they turned out to be, but you kind of forgot about those initial stages of getting there. We're in those initial stages of getting there for a lot of these guys. So what I'm here to say is, yeah, I'm interested. I'm curious too. I'm confident in where and how they'll end up, but I don't know as of right now the precise path of how things go. In the beginning, I wasn't a huge fan of the New Jerseys, but they've really grown on me, and I love them, and they look really good on the boys. Yeah, again, I was a person who, when the Sharks changed their logo in the late 2000s, mid to late 2000s, I was like, I don't know if I like this one. Took me like a full year. And now when I look back at the old one, I mean, I'm still fond of it, and I still remember it, but the old one looks weird now when I just, come across it. I still love it, though. I know it's early, but I love to know what are some indicators where we should hit the panic button. That's a good question, Jesse. Like, what would have happened that would make me go, uh-oh, we're in trouble? Because I don't think anybody's thinking that yet, right? Like, we might be thinking this is still an uphill battle. This is not going to be easy. There's some things to work on. Okay, fair. I don't think anybody's going, uh-oh. Some things that would make you say that are like 2 blowouts in a row, or perhaps getting shut out, or, you could also do this. Wipe the scoreboard away for just a second. Of the 6 periods we've seen so far, small sample size, who was the better team of those 6 periods? We could kind of go back period by period. Game 1, period 1. Pretty even, quite honestly. I think it was 1-1 after 1. Second period, Nashville was. Third period yesterday, I mean, it was Nashville, but how was it really decisive? Was it a toss-up? Okay. Nashville definitely won more periods yesterday. Today, I thought Sharks were the better first period team. I thought the Sharks were the better third period team. It was the second period which cost them the game. Nashville got all 3 of their goals in that stanza. Done. Game done, but I thought Sharks were the better team for 2 periods. Again, wipe the scoring away. Just watch the gameplay. So if you didn't win any periods, that to me is probably a uh-oh. Or, I mean, knock on wood, knock on everything. If you had some type of injury situation or something wasn't right or all of a sudden somebody couldn't play, luckily there was none of that. Those are panic button type things. No panic button stuff happened here. So, in a sense, I mean, I guess, some people say like, oh yeah, life could always be worse. True. That's true in this situation too. Marty says times are dark, but I don't think they're going to get much darker. There's only light at the end of the tunnel going forward. You know what? I mean, not making the playoffs 3 years in a row, that happens to a lot of teams in professional sports a lot of times. But this is only the first time it's ever happened to the Sharks. Like, we have definitely been spoiled to a certain degree since 1991, right? So it is dark. I don't think it's pitch dark. But I would agree with the sentiment that now with a different outlook, some different priorities and perspectives, and, the ability to change, that, yeah, I would have to agree that there is light at the end of the tunnel, or at least light in the direction you're going. Brutus, they tend to slow down in the second, great first periods, but they don't show up in the second. Yeah, and you know what? I mean, they didn't win either of the second periods, clearly, of the first two games. And we'll get into noticing some trends after 5 and 10 games. Like, we'll look at goals for and against, the differential by period, and it might turn out where it's like, hey, pretty good first period team, okay third period team, but man, we get smoked in the second period. It might be that way. What causes that? How do you fix that? How do you get away from that? We've seen this before. There are some things that don't make any sense, but they seem to keep repeating themselves. So again, we've only seen it twice, but that is a good point, Brutus. Dalton was a bit worried when he didn't see me go. Dalton didn't see me go live after the game. This is that's what I said at the top. This is a true Sharks night shift. I just I called an audible at the end, but thank you for even checking and looking. I just realized that I wanted to take advantage of Saturday just a little bit differently, and that I would have the time tonight. As Alicia says, second period usually doesn't go the Sharks' way for some reason. That kind of has been a thing, right? I seriously love the new jerseys, though. Dang, they sure got those colors right. Looks slick and clean. I would tend to agree. And like I said before, wait till you see him in person. Seems that Jumbo, Pavelski, and Marleau were the reasons the Sharks were doing so well, and the Sharks were struggling with a bad losing streak in 05 until Jumbo joined them and saved them. You know what? Again, we got spoiled for so long that the train was rolling, and you didn't need to do too. You just need a little touch-ups here and there to the team every season. Some tweaks, but we're not at that point. Like, tweaks are not enough at this point. They've done some tweaks. They've also made some major moves, right? Brent Burns no longer with the team. And we'll see what other big moves they make. I've also, I made a prediction probably about a month ago that there is still a wow move to be had by the Sharks this season. I don't know what it is. I don't know the magnitude of it. Is it adding somebody? Is it subtraction? I don't know. Trying something different that just makes you go, whoa. And it doesn't have to be a desperate thing. It's just a creative thing or a progress type thing. I still think that that's in their cards this year. All right, Christopher. Eklund, boards. How about this for a segment idea? Bordy and Brody. I don't know what we're going to do. Welcome to Bordy and Brody. Yep, I don't know. It was interesting, right, that they went all the way out there and didn't play. Are they lined up to be on the roster for Friday or Saturday? Are they going to be on the Barracuda this year? Are they just going to put together a monster Barracuda team, dominate, and then start plucking them one by one? Be like, all right, Eklund, your turn. All right, Boards, your turn. All right, Merks, come on up. I don't know. What will they do? When will we see him? I'm sure it's been communicated to those players. That's one of the things about David Quinn is, in working with collegiate athletes like he did before kind of entering in the NHL coaching sphere, you'd have to think that he understands young people really well. Got to communicate with them. I'm sure he has. Hey guys, here's what I'm going to do. Here's how we're going to do this with you. Just so you're not like sitting there wondering and waiting. I just want Eklund and Bordeleau to be ready and fresh and primed for the opportunity whenever that happens. And, it's weird. Like Eklund is from Europe, so you think in a way it's not like going far away. It's like going home for him in almost a sense. Same continent at least. But yeah, I think the reason I'm going to keep bringing their names up, and Merkley too, it's not to pressure the Sharks. It's not to question the decision making. It's not to force the issue. The reason I'm going to bring their names up is because I'm selfish and curious. All right? Like, you're probably feeling the same way. This is for us. We want to know. We're excited. And there's a handful of other Sharks players too. Weisblatt and beyond. I don't want to spill all the names out there, but I'll tell you, this is a year. This is a year for you too, and it's not just because of their new rink and exciting times and all that stuff. This is a year for you and I to pay more and better attention to the Barracuda, right? Because what happens over there, I'm not even going to say down there anymore. Now that they've got their own rink and they're, just down the road east that way, southeast, over there, I want to know what's going on over there a lot more than I have in recent years, because it matters. There's going to be some players there that matter. And you know what? John McCarthy, their coach, full respect to Roy Sommer, by the way, off to a new opportunity in San Diego. But really like Johnny Mack, former Sharks player, had to leave the playing game due to a heart condition, a rare situation. Great guy, though, great teammate. Shark players always loved him. Turned out to kind of be a career captain of the Sharks AHL team. Now he's their head coach. It's really cool. But I think he will do a good job in priming those players for this opportunity. I really do. Sharks are in a rebuilding, retooling phase. Lots of new names will be interesting to see. You can be solid. Solid contributors. At least game 2, Sharks were in it for most of the game. Yeah, and I think, Dylan, as much as we talk about players emerging, and that's the interesting part, I'm also curious to see how David Quinn emerges as their new leader. How does he break things down? What's his coaching style? Is he going to be like straightforward in the comments afterwards? Is he going to, I don't want to say send messages and push buttons to the players. Realistically, you want to do that internally. But how is he going to represent the team in the high and low points? We got to know Bob Bugner pretty well in his demeanors, and Todd McClellan and Pete DeBoer. And over the years, all the people who have been the Sharks head coaches, you've kind of got to understand them and learn them. And we're very early in the learning process of David Quinn. How is he going to do this? What's his technique? What to expect? So, yeah, we're feeling this thing out from a player standpoint, but we're also feeling this thing out from a David Quinn standpoint. And that, too, is something very interesting to watch. My biggest fear, P.F. Quinn at head coach. Oh, of Quinn. Sorry. I'm reading through the typos there. My biggest fear of Quinn at head coach is him not utilizing the youngsters. Boards, Eklund, and Co., and those guys can make good plays, but I don't know if Quinn is on the same page. But why wouldn't he be? Like, he coached college players. And what I mean by that is, like, these are professionals now. They've been drafted. They've come up. But they're still young. They're still not where a Logan, a Timo, look at all the Sharks players over the years. They're not where those players are at professionally. Maturation-wise and professionally. They're not there yet. I think that's one of the reasons why he'll eventually show to be a very good fit, and hopefully in the long run too, but especially here and now, is because that group and some of the names you're mentioning there are the young guys that will need it most. I think he's on the same page as that. And I also want to say this too, Brutus, it's definitely not just a head coach's decision of, well, you guys are in, you guys are up, you guys are down, this at this point. Right? Because Quinn and Greer and everybody else on the hockey side, like, they know who these young players are, but they have not even got the opportunity necessarily to see them over months and years at a time. But my point there is that's all group decisions. Guys, hockey side, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Yeah, this do you think? That's what I think. Okay, here's what I think. Are we going to go with this? Okay, here's what we're going to do. Done. So to think that, now, playing time, like game management, that's a different story. You're not, the GM is not the head coach on the bench during the game. But in terms of who's going to go where and what and how long and try this or what opportunity, that's usually a group decision on the team side. Man, I'm so far back in the live chat apparently. I talked about the back-to-back games a long time ago, but I'm glad you understand that. I'm really glad you understand that. Sharks subreddit are already embracing tanking. I love Reddit. I really do. But I always feel like Reddit is a bit collegiate for me. It's stuff I thought about in college. Teams tanking on purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like, Reddit is great for, oh, I didn't see that. I'm glad people had eyes and ears on that. And, I dip through the subreddits. I absolutely do. By the way, there's beyond sports. There's great ones out there. It's just good conversation. I think of, of all the social platforms, if that's what Reddit is, and I guess it is, right? It's comments, it's upvoting, downvoting. Reddit might still be one of the longest standing, and I'm not saying it's perfect by any means. I'm not saying it's untainted, because I think, there's some areas and corners of it I'm not going, and I wish didn't exist. But it is still at least a mostly respectable place. The comments are only mildly out of hand. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't know. Reddit has not jumped the shark entirely, like Facebook did a long time ago. Can I say that on here? Christopher says, I don't think Co is quite ready. Yeah, it's, again, they're all going to be different. That's the other thing. You're not going to have one day where it's like, all right, boys, come on up. We're ready for you. You don't like my idea, Eddie. All right. I hope that Bordy and others aren't scratched all the time or sent back to the CUDA. Well, it's not going to be... one of those is okay. Being scratched all the time is not okay. You need your young players to continue playing, getting experience, having hard lessons learned. That's what you need for them. Being scratched... And I'm not talking about these 2 games in Europe. This is a completely different ball of wax. But I'm talking about regular season, normal type stuff. Yeah, you can't do that. So it'll be more okay to be down with the Barracuda. Can they just send Boards and X down now so that they can dominate the AHL and do the proving that Quinn wants? And again, that's kind of, I was not joking or exaggerating. Maybe they make the Barracuda a monster team and kind of get them riled up, give them some success, October, November, December, let them feel really good and then say, all right, pluck, 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 pluck. Maybe. I don't think that's, if you're a Sharks fan, I know you're urgent. You're like, let's get them up. But it's kind of like cooking. You can't bake the cookies after 5 minutes and be done. It just doesn't work that way. Or the macaroni and cheese is not even close until the water's boiling, Bad examples. Yeah, and that's what I was saying before, Kevin. Tanking doesn't guarantee the first pick, and knowing the Sharks' luck, they somehow won't get it if they are in position to. Yeah, don't count on that. Come on. And Jack's response, Kevin, I agree, but this isn't any ordinary draft class. And then all the names there who could be very nice additions. Brutus, Brody, could you look at some of your Discord DMs? I got to figure out how to do that, Brutus. But I will try. Marty has a pet lizard named Bernsey. Should he box him up and send him to Carolina? Oh, my gosh. Well, let's see what Bernsey does on Friday. That's going to be interesting, right? That's another storyline for the Sharks. How have they looked minus Brent Burns for their first games, ever in a really long time? More than 10 years. Bernsey came over in, 2011? 11, 12? So, was that the year he came over? Or was it 10, 11? Gosh, I'm losing. Anyway, yeah. About 10 years ago or more. But how have the Sharks done without basically their time on ice leader for the last 5, 6, 7 years? We should dive into that one more with Curtis and get some hockey guys' opinion, hockey people's opinion on that. All right, let's see here. Calculator. You'll love the post-game nightcaps. I appreciate that. And tonight's was a little bit different, right? I didn't do it right after the game. But for the most part, they will take place. And I think on Friday night, I'll be at the tank. I'll grab a headset type deal or a wireless mic, and I'll just do it right off the phone, and we'll do it that way. Won't have this cool setup, but we'll do it a different way. Has Board's number been changed 3 times now? That happens. There's some jockeying usually, and somebody's got the number you want. And also, when you're young, I've pretty much established that this is the way it works. When you're young, here you go, kid, you're 74. Okay, I'll be 74. Where's 74? All right, make it off season, sign a new contract, something like that. Hey, about this 74 thing. Yeah, what do you want? Oh, well, I would like number 6, please. Okay, here's number 6. Or you work your way down from 74 to 26. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. Down to 5 or 6 or whatever number you want. So it happens a lot with young people. Heatley, where did that come from? It's by Danny Heatley. Let's see what else we got. Rabbi the Daddy. You got the unicorn icon there, and you're trying to get a set from Adidas of the new jerseys.
Yes, I am.
I like them. No, I don't need to try. We'll be taking care of that. We really will. We have to. It's like a prop on a movie set, Curtis needs one too. We need teal buckets, teal mitts, teal breezers, and the new jerseys and socks. Yeah, we basically need everything. Oh, it's Timo's birthday. Can you tell Timo happy birthday for me? All right, well, look, I hate to text people like that on their birthday because how many texts do you think he's got? And also it is, let's see here. If it's 8:56 California, let me see if this is right here. I'll pull up my old clock. If it's, so let's see, London, it's 4:56, and it's 1 hour ahead of even London, so it is 5:56 in the morning. Think about that for just a second. Like, as we do this right now, it's 5:56 out in Prague, where the guys are. They've already played, went to sleep, had a dinner probably, then went to sleep. And I've been up this entire time. But then, of course, I'm going to go to sleep now while they'll be up for an entire morning. That time difference thing, it's nothing new, but it's always so weird when you really get to thinking about it. Chris, you just want to see some fights? If you're satisfied with just that, well, I guess you're a Gadjevich fan then. Show us some close-style guts. Marty still feels like the kids are getting Babcocked. Mike Babcock didn't want to give the young guys a chance. It's a perfect year to get him some ice time. It is, but Marty, I'm going to tell you, my opinion is that, I'm going to say a fault, but a misstep of the Sharks was to offer too many young players, especially forwards, too many opportunities that they just could not really drive home and capitalize and do well with. And so I'm not saying, but I mean, it's like, what's the rush? Well, we want to go back to the playoffs. But if you don't do it right, you're counteracting doing it right is more important than doing it quickly. There's a saying in one of the books I read to my son. It says, anything worth doing is worth doing right. I don't know. It's hard to say that, but let's give it some patience. But at the same time, I know where you're coming from. Let me go back to this one here. Chris, I agree, but we know these kids' development this year is important, and their skill level is beyond every bottom 6 guy on the ice in these past 2 games. Chris, you're going hard on the old second 6, aren't you? But hey, I mean, to the point, what did you do, right? I mean, how did you directly put your stamp on the game? Okay. Do I think Ryan Merkley could fill a bottom 6 role this season and actually stay on the roster? Do I think David Quinn is? Are you saying like a third pair? I think Merkley not being part of the traveling group surprised me a little bit, but I also understand that, again, they're just trying to make this difficult for younger players and maybe not put the immediate pressure on them. Like, hey, you got to come up now. I mean, this season, yeah, you probably do have to make your splash and hopefully have some good games and good stretches and play a decent amount. But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Merkley, Bordelot, or Eklund are not there on opening night. I mean, certainly Merkley, but The other two, I mean, will I selfishly be disappointed? Yeah, but will I understand it? Completely. Completely. Brutus is like, you're reading the chat from 22 minutes ago? Yeah, that's me. That's me. Oh, yeah, there we go. Now I have the timestamp on it. You said that at 8:39. It's 9 o'clock right now. Oh, my gosh. Metal Mario, when Barabanov gets back in, where does Cunnin go? But hopefully that makes you deeper already. Gosh, I want to see Noah Gregor bury some goals early. I really do. Get that, like, monkey off your back type situation. Like, really just, erase that whole bad luck shot percentage thing. Whoa. Didn't mean to do that. Don't talking so much about performance, sagacity, innovation, efficiency, correct position, at least super mindedly approximately what? Whoa! I didn't want to read all that. I can't read all those words. Felix, what's up, buddy? The teal shorts and helmets have grown on me. That said, the all teal look still super weird to you. Again, Felix, I don't know if, like I said before, if you haven't seen him in person, I want you to know that might be your moment. Or maybe not, but that was my moment, and I've heard that's a lot of people's moment. Like when you actually see it for real, in person, top to bottom. I said earlier that the Sharks were spoiled. Like, we got spoiled watching a team that was automatically in the playoffs like every year. Eddie says, I never saw him win a cup. Don't believe I feel spoiled. Okay. So only certain teams are. All right. Let's see here. The plan is very simple. Tank, but say you're not rebuilding because otherwise you won't sell tickets. No, but see, like, Alec, I think there's there's new slogan is it's a new era. Like, they are literally, I think there was for a while a little bit of reluctance to say we're going to do some changes and overhaul, but like, the things that have been, I don't say easily changed, like the coach, the general manager, hockey people inside the organization, I think what you're seeing is maybe a vehicle that's had some engine changes and some internals worked on, and you're just looking at the outside saying, well, it's the same car, same coat of paint. So I don't think anybody is, first off, nobody's tanking, right? Like, you have to make some sacrifice moves to take steps forward. And I don't think they're not admitting that this is a project right now. Let's see here. I am so far behind. Whoops. Michael says, hey, Brody, I'm making a shirt of all my Sharks content creators. It will have a picture of you and a QR code that'll go to your channel. Is it okay to use your face on a shirt? You won't sell it. Michael, of course. Oh, it'll be a personal shirt. Oh, there's just one of them? Yeah, no problem. And you know what? Michael, it's only okay if you find a way to get that on television. It's only okay if you showcase that bad boy. I wonder who else will be on your shirt. Will Teal Town, USA be on there? Will the Fin Factor be on there? Who else is going to be on that shirt? I'm curious. I'm excited to know. But yeah, it's totally cool. I appreciate you for asking. I can't stop you. If you wanted to do it, you would do it anyway. But yeah, it'll be even more okay, Michael, when you get that thing on camera somewhere and we can have it on our broadcast. I will demand that it gets publicized and shown. Things usually look better in person than in pictures, videos, and TVs. And you know what? Hockey's a better game. I'm saying that as a person who broadcasts hockey, who helps broadcast it on television. Don't you know that you can't go to all the games, but I think it's more enjoyable, it's more flavorful in person. So there you go. Chris is going to buy your daughter an Evolve sweater. Buy now or wait for the sale when the bandwagoners stop buying merch. Come on, I think these ones will be like I said, too, when you see the texture of them in person, like that wavy design, it's pretty cool. It's that, so I don't know if anybody's actually noticed this, but I decided to incorporate that wavy design into the bottom of the Night Shift logo here. What do you think? Oh, there's this. There we go. There we go. What do you think? You kind of see that down there? It's the wavy design from the jerseys. All right, let's do a couple more chat items, and then we'll be outie. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. You'll I can't wait to see it. I can't wait. It's Corona. You'll be there on Friday night. So will I. So will I. I look forward to seeing you there. Is Sonia making her season debut next Friday? Yeah, you know what? I don't think you saw her on any of the stuff in these two games. And let me just admit, pull back the curtain, full disclosure here. The two games that we just broadcast from Prague, I keep wanting to say Sweden and Switzerland and Germany. The two games that we just did from Prague, very atypical in how things worked behind the scenes. A small production crew, small production crew in Europe that was sending back a world feed. Do you realize that fans in Nashville didn't even have their own announcers to call the game? Usually that's how, there was a Czech language, am I saying that right? A Czech language broadcast, but using all the same video and graphics that we produced. Actually, I take it back. There was a different set of graphics, but you understand my point. They create one feed and then add different announcers to it. But like Randy and Hetty were calling the same broadcast that was going back to Nashville. So us, like we didn't get to do all the typical interaction. We had a lot of different things in studio. I can't even describe everything, but it was a bit different. And we knew it, so we just wanted to get through it clean. And as for Sonia, like I have no reservations that that will happen soon. In fact, Sones and I have been talking about, because the Barracuda are so relevant, if she could kind of take that beat over this year for us, I think that'd be phenomenal. And how exciting they are and how relevant, like this is the time to really capitalize on that. So I don't know specifically, but yes, it's in the cards. Any streams this upcoming week? I don't know. I just did 9 games in the last 11 days of A's and Sharks now. So I'm going to take a few days off after this. So I don't know the agenda yet. I don't. Should I wear your Pavelski or Donskoy jersey? Go for Donskoy. Go for the Don father. Speaking of Brutus's DM, I may or may not. Oh, well, thank you, Felix. I will dive in there. To be perfectly honest, sometimes I miss those. Oh, the Discord stuff. We will work on the Discord. PA Danny Miller was out there too. Yeah, he actually did the same thing in Germany and Sweden back in 2010. He did all the game calls out there, or the PA announcing out there. Sorry, getting a few text messages here. Found out some just interesting news right there. A friend and a family situation that's very good. Just came across that. I'm glad I checked the text messages. Caker Girl, thank you. I will kind of take some time off, but I won't be gone for long. I think actually on Thursday we might be at Sharks to do some long-form interviews with David Quinn, Mike Greer, and team president Jonathan Becker. So I'll be down there even before Friday hits. Me and Zach, the Zach man, are wondering if you're bringing back Twitter Mission Live with Sonia. I don't know that Twitter Mission is going to happen in the near future. That could be a whole separate conversation maybe we can have someday. And I don't even know that I can fully explain it because I don't I don't know all the background details, and I'm ultimately, it's not my decision. But I also understand it too. We did that for a couple years. It was fun. There were some side effects to it. There were some challenges because of it. But is there a Brody Discord server? Yeah, I like the interest. I like that. Felix has been working his butt off on that. And I think Brutus has been helping out too. And there might even be some more, but Felix and I have been talking about it, and there have been some challenges with that. I will leave it at that for right now. Pour the tea. Well, on that note, Brazil is going to check out. No, honestly, I appreciate everybody for being here, and we will do this again. Again, normally I will do it right after the game, but normally after the game will be nighttime, just like this. So, thank you for being here for Old Shark's Night Shift. See, I forgot how my own home studio works. Guess that's not going to pop. Oh, it is going to pop up. Great. Okay. I can go to that as soon as we're ready. Thanks for being here tonight. And until next time, whenever that is, take care. And don't forget to check out the channel. I've got stuff popping up pretty much every day. All right. Good night, everybody.